Today I am going to take you through some of the snacks that I like to make for my kids. I like to make my own snacks for a couple of reasons. One, I can always make sure that there's good quality ingredients being used in the snacks that I make. And two, is cost. Now, somewhat decent snacks at the store are getting so expensive, so I really want to get back into the habit of making my own snacks on a regular basis. I kind of fell off the bandwagon, but I am ready to get back on the bandwagon of making my own snacks. Now, the first recipe I'm going to show you is crackers. The best recipe that I have come across on the internet is Pioneer Woman's recipe, which is what I am showing you. I have had several failed batches of crackers. Crackers does take a little bit of practice, even though it's really not that hard. It just takes some patience. But this recipe, Pioneer Woman's, is especially easy to make. This recipe calls for 3 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of salt, 4 tablespoons of fat. So this could be oil, butter, ghee, melted tallow, even melted butter grease, whatever that you wish. I used avocado oil just for the sake of time, but you can use whatever you want. And then after that, you need a cup of water plus a little bit if your dough is a little bit dry. You first mix your dry ingredients, then you add your fat, and then you add your water. Knead it for a minute or two just until it comes together, and then you can move on to making the crackers. After that, you're gonna put it on a well-floured surface. Now, I find crackers to be easier to deal with when they are in small little chunks, so I didn't really show it here, but I divided it even more into like 4, I think I actually did 6 little balls of dough. Then I rolled those out super thin. I tried my electric pasta maker to flatten them out, and the dough just crumbles in the pasta maker. So this is something that you are gonna have to just put some elbow grease in, which is fine. You do want them to be thin. So I will show you what a thicker and a thinner cracker looks like at the very end. But you can also put on some toppings. So I did everything bagel seasoning, and then I did some herb salt, and then I even did one with dill, but the dill didn't really turn out like I thought it was gonna be. But the everything bagel is great, and then I have one who likes plain crackers, so I left a few little balls plain.
Get your dough flat.
Now you're gonna want to preheat your oven to 450. So that's what the recipe says. I personally did 425 because 450 is hot, and you do need to keep an eye on these crackers, and I was doing them in small batches, so the 425 kind of gave me some grace in between each batch. Once you get them rolled as thin as you can and get your toppings on, just go ahead and cut them. I just used a pizza cutter. You can be as particular as you want in the shape and size and whatever else you want to do with your crackers, but my children don't really care if they're kind of messy looking, I guess you can say. So I just cut them into smaller, probably 1 to 2 inch size pieces. Now you don't want to overcrowd your pan. You definitely want to give them plenty of room on the baking sheet. Before you put them in the oven, you do want to put some olive oil on it. I just use some of the herb oil that I have because that's what I use for everything. But you can use avocado oil. You can even use the same fat that you put in the cracker. Bake them between 10 to 15 minutes. Now, like I said, you are going to have to keep a close eye on it because you just want the edges to be golden brown. And it goes from golden brown to burnt pretty quickly. So just keep an eye on it. Now, here is the snap of a thicker cracker and then a thin cracker. So this is the thick cracker. They taste just the same, but here is the snap of a thin cracker. I store mine in mason jars, and they will last about a week or a little bit longer in the mason jar. If you put an oxygen absorber in, they might last a little bit longer. Now the next snack is these applesauce muffins. My kids love these. This is applesauce I made last summer, well, last fall really. And these muffins are very basic, and I make them into mini muffins, and I will just stick them on the table and they can kind of free range on them. This recipe calls for 1.5 cups of flour, a half a cup sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then you need to cut in a 1/4 cup of shortening, which I just use butter or melted coconut oil. You need 1 egg, half a cup of applesauce, and then a half cup of milk. Then I always do 2 scoops of collagen powder, and then if you really want to, you can stick dried fruit or chocolate chips in it, but I just always use it plain. You are going to preheat your oven to 400. I use the mini muffin tins, so I only have to bake them for 15 minutes in the mini muffin tins, but if you use a regular size muffin tin, you might have to go closer to 20 minutes. You just have to keep an eye on it. It's just like a cake. You just bake them until they're done, like the toothpick comes out clean. Now these will store just fine at room temperature for a few days. If you want them to last a little bit longer, I would just stick them in a fridge and they should last at least a week, if not a little bit longer. I have the same glass bowl thing with the lid that I stick mine in, and I will leave it on the table so my kids can just pick at them and eat them at their own will. Another one that my kids absolutely love is popcorn. I do make popcorn fresh a lot, but sometimes it's really easier just to make it and then put it into little baggies, and then they can go into the pantry and grab a little baggie of popcorn when they need a snack. All I do is I coat the bottom of a small saucepan with avocado oil. I add a half a cup of popcorn kernels and I let it pop on medium-high heat until it's done. And then we like butter, salt, and nutritional yeast. I will mix it all up and then I will just put it into some plastic bags. I keep meaning to go to like the Dollar Tree or something and get some little Tupperwares to use. But right now all I have are these plastic bags, and it's so nice because I put them at ground level so everybody can reach the popcorn in, and they will last probably about a week. Depending, they don't last that long because my kids eat them all real quickly, but they will last a little bit while in your pantry. So the very last snack I'm going to show you today is Popovers. Now I know I mentioned Popovers in the last one, but sometimes my kids need some substantial snacks, and freezing them. Now I'm going to show you how I freeze them. So I can just pop them in the toaster oven and then they can have like a hot snack, or even if they just want like a small lunch. Sometimes my kids aren't hungry for a full plate of food per se, but they need something substantial. So this is my solution as of right now. In this particular batch, I made a ton of them. I made some for myself and my husband too, but I did cheddar and chives. I did the blueberries, and then this is cooked vegetables like pepper, onion, and cherry tomatoes. I will leave the link down below for my popover recipe. This is so easy, such a great way to use up egg. And I know that they are full of the protein from the egg, so I know that they fill my children's bellies up a little bit more, even if they are treating it as a snack. So when I make huge batches like this, I like to freeze them. It's really easy to freeze them. I am going to use these reusable vacuum bags. Me and my husband have been kind of investing into these bags because we vacuum seal a lot of stuff, and these reusable ones are so handy because you can open it and then re-vacuum seal it, which I will show you in just a minute. But the popovers, you do need, they will like squish flat if you just stick them in there fresh. You need to pre-freeze them so they become hard. And then I'm just gonna line the bag in a single layer, and then I will vacuum seal them, and then they can sit in my freezer for several months if they last that long. So these vacuum bags come with a little handheld vacuum sealer, specifically made for the bag. So it all comes in this kit that you can buy, and you just stick it on the little button and it'll vacuum seal the bags. And then when you need some, like if I want to just heat up maybe 4 Popovers, I can open it just like a Ziploc bag, and then when I need to put it back into the freezer, I just take the little handheld vacuum sealer and reseal them, and they can sit in my freezer for a long time. Again, these, if you have a little toaster oven, these heat up so well in the toaster oven. I just bake them at 350 for a few minutes until they are thawed and they are crunchy and they're not stale, or they're not like gummy, I guess you can say. I don't know how to explain it, but they taste good. They taste fresh, to be honest. This by far is the only snack that will last long term. All the other ones I just showed you are ones that need to be remade on a weekly or bi-weekly or in a rotation of some sort. But you know what? This is not the only things I make for my kids. I have other recipes. If you have made it this far in the video, I just want to thank you. And if you want to see my other snacks that I like to make my kids, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.